Put your hands out in front of you and look at them. No claws. Look at your teeth in the next mirror you pass. No fangs. You cannot outrun a wolf. You cannot out-wrestle anything your own weight. That includes a chimpanzee half your size. For most of the last 300,000 years, you were on the menu. Cave bear, cave lion, hyena the size of a small pony. In a straight fight, you lose every single time. Your ancestors knew that better than you do, so they built the answer. And here is the number that should stop you. A human can accelerate a handheld object past 140 kilometers an hour. A chimpanzee is roughly twice your strength. It tops out around 30. Twice the muscle, 1/5 of the speed. That gap is the most important number in human history. It is also why nothing on this planet hunts you. So what was the deadliest weapon our ancestors ever made? It was not the spear. It was not the arrow. The answer is stranger. It is partly inside your body right now. And it emptied 3 continents. Here is the root. The oldest weapon we have ever found, the machine in your shoulder, the glue, the 2 upgrades that changed the range, the poison, and then the bill. Let's go. Start with the oldest one. For a long time, nobody believed it existed. In 1994, at an open-cast coal mine at Schöningen in northern Germany, Hartmut Thieme and his team started pulling wooden objects out of the ground. Wood does not survive. That is the first rule of the Paleolithic. Wood rots, stone stays. So the whole record is biased toward rocks. Except at Schöningen, the sediment was waterlogged and airless, and out came spears. 8 of them, and eventually more. Spruce and pine, up to 2.5 meters long, shaped with real care. Now the detail that matters. The thickest point on each shaft sits about 1/3 of the way from the tip. That is exactly where a modern competition javelin is weighted. These were not stabbing sticks. They were built to fly. They are around 300,000 years old. Sit with that. 300,000. That is before our species is recognizably us. And around them, in the same layer, roughly 16,000 animal bones. About 20 horses, taken at a lakeshore by a group who planned it. For a century, the story of early humans was scavenging. Timid little hominins waiting for lions to finish, sneaking in for marrow. Schöningen took that story and put a javelin through it. And people have tested them. Replicas of the Schöningen spears were handed to trained javelin athletes, who threw them at targets. They worked. Hits landed reliably out to around 20 meters, and the replicas carried further than that. A 300,000-year-old design, in modern hands, still performing. Now the second thing. It is the actual answer to the question. The deadliest weapon was not the object, it was the arm holding it. Neil Roach spent years at Harvard filming people throwing, and he found that the human shoulder is not a joint in the ordinary sense, it is a catapult. Here is what happens when you throw. You cock your arm back. In that instant, the ligaments and tendons crossing your shoulder stretch and load like elastic. Your arm pauses. The energy sits there. Then it releases. Your upper arm rotates at up to 9,000 degrees per second. That is the fastest motion the human body can produce. Faster than your eyes, faster than your tongue, faster than anything else you have got. And almost none of that speed comes from your shoulder muscles. It comes from elastic recoil, released in about 0.03 of a second. 3 features make it possible. All 3 show up in the fossil record around 2 million years ago in Homo erectus. A waist that lets your torso rotate independently of your hips, shoulders sitting low and wide off the rib cage, and an upper arm bone with less twist in it, which lets the arm cock back far enough to load the elastic. Chimpanzees have none of the 3. That is why a chimpanzee throws like an angry toddler, despite being able to generate twice your force. And now the honest part about what a weapon actually is. A spear point does not do the work. Speed does the work. Energy scales with the square of velocity, so doubling the speed of a projectile does not double what it delivers, it quadruples it. So the deadliest weapon ancient humans ever made was the ability to deliver force to something not standing next to them. Everything after this is engineering on that one idea. You were not designed to fight. Read that again, because it is the center of this whole video. Nothing about you is built for combat. Your skull is thin, your skin tears, your hands break on impact, And your shoulder, the joint we have just spent 5 minutes praising, is the most easily dislocated major joint in your body. It gave up stability to buy range of motion. Your ancestors did not win fights. They arranged never to be in one. Every piece of the human weapons tradition is a 300,000-year project to increase the distance between you and the thing that wants to eat you. Now the piece almost nobody mentions, glue. A sharp stone is close to useless on its own. To matter, it has to sit on the end of a shaft and stay there through impact. That means adhesive. And the adhesive our ancestors used was birch tar. Now look at what birch tar takes. You cannot find it. It does not occur. You have to make it by heating birch bark without letting it catch. The working window sits somewhere around 340 to 400 degrees, held for hours, in a low oxygen space you have built for the purpose. That is a chemical industry. It has multiple steps, no visible payoff until the end, and it fails completely if the temperature runs away from you. Lumps of it turn up at Neanderthal sites well over 100,000 years old. Somebody had to hold that process in their head across a whole day, with nothing to show for it until the final hour. That is planning of a kind we spent decades insisting Neanderthals did not have. Now the first upgrade to range, and it is a beautiful piece of physics. A hand-thrown spear leaves your grip at roughly 20 meters a second. Effective out to maybe 20 or 30 meters if you are very good. The limit is your arm. Your arm is only so long. So somebody made their arm longer. The spear thrower, or atlatl, is a stick about half a meter long with a hook on the end. The butt of a light spear sits against the hook. You throw the whole assembly. The stick acts as an extension of your forearm, adding a second lever at the last moment. The oldest surviving examples come out of European caves from around 18,000 years ago. Several are carved into animal shapes. Our ancestors could not be handed a functional object without decorating it. The result: dart speeds climb toward 30 meters a second. Effective range roughly doubles. And the delivered energy goes up several times over. From a lighter projectile you can carry more of. Then the second upgrade. The field took a long time to accept how old it is. Marlise Lombard has spent her career reading damage on stone points under magnification. Points that hit bone at high speed fracture in specific, recognizable ways. Points used for stabbing do not. At Sibudu Cave, she found small quartz points carrying exactly that impact damage. They had traces of adhesive where they had been mounted, and their size and weight make sense on an arrow shaft and no sense at all on a spear. The layer is around 64,000 years old. 64,000 in Africa. Tens of thousands of years before anyone expected a bow. And the bow changes something the atlatl does not. An atlatl throw is a whole body motion. It is visible, it is slow. A bow is drawn from a crouch, silently, at close range, and released in a fraction of a second. You are now a thing that is never seen at all. Now line the whole ladder up because the numbers tell the story on their own. A thrusting spear reaches about 2 meters. You are inside the animal's reach when you use it. A thrown spear reaches 25. An atlatl dart reaches 40. An arrow reaches 60 and beyond. 2 meters to 60, that is the entire history of human weapons in 4 numbers, and every step buys the same thing. Not power. Absence. And there is a natural experiment sitting right next to this, in the Neanderthal skeletons. Their spears were heavy, and the wear on them points to thrusting rather than throwing. So Neanderthals were working at 2 meters on animals that weighed as much as a car. In 1995, researchers compared the injury pattern on Neanderthal skeletons against a database of modern occupational injuries, looking for the closest match. The match was rodeo riders. Trauma concentrated on the head, neck, and upper body from large animals at contact range, over and over. Roughly 4 in 5 of the better preserved Neanderthal adults carry a significant healed injury. These were people who kept getting hurt and kept going back to work because their toolkit gave them no other option. They were not weaker than us. They were not less clever. They were standing 2 meters closer for 200,000 years, and the bill for those 2 meters is written across their bones. Now the fourth piece. Honestly, it is the one that unsettles me. Francesco De Erico and colleagues examined a thin wooden applicator from Sibudu Cave in South Africa. It is around 24,000 years old. Chemical analysis found ricinoleic acid on it, a marker of castor bean toxin, a dedicated tool for applying poison in the Stone Age. And we know what this does in practice. Sand hunters in the Kalahari were still doing it within living memory. The poison comes from beetle larvae, dug out and squeezed onto the shaft behind the point. It is slow. It does not stop an animal on the spot. A large antelope hit at dusk may walk for a day, sometimes longer. So the hunt becomes a walk. You hit the animal, then you follow it, for hours, sometimes for 2 or 3 days. Reading tracks, waiting for the chemistry to finish the work. That is patience as a weapon system. It has nothing to do with strength. And it explains something about the numbers. Bow hunting has a terrible strike rate. Among Hadza hunters, the great majority of days out with a bow bring back no large animal at all. Something like 1 hunt in 20 connects. So the poison is doing something specific. It converts a rare, marginal hit into a result you can still collect 3 days later. It turns a bad hit into a good one, given enough walking. Put the 4 together and look at what a hunting party had by around 20,000 years ago. Range, silence, chemistry, glue that holds, and 8 or 10 minds running one plan. There is no animal answer to that, none. Size does not help, speed does not help, armor does not help. Neither does living in a herd because the herd was the point. And look at how alone we are in this. Biologists have described something like 1.5 million animal species. Ranged attack, using a tool, at a target meters away, appears in exactly 1 of them. There are near misses. The archerfish spits a jet of water and knocks insects off leaves, which is genuinely a ranged attack, at about a meter, with a body part. Some birds drop shellfish onto rocks. Chimpanzees throw badly, mostly in temper. Nothing else picks up an object, shapes it over hours, mounts it with glue it manufactured, coats it in a toxin it extracted, and delivers it accurately to a target 60 meters away that has no idea it is being aimed at. 1 species out of 1.5 million. Every animal alive today is living in a world designed around that fact. Some of you are thinking this is all reconstruction. Fair question. Impact fractures and chemical residues are inference, and inference can be wrong. So here's a controlled experiment on living people with instruments. Roach built a brace. He took athletes, filmed them throwing normally with motion capture, then locked down specific movements 1 at a time. Restrict the torso rotation and throwing speed falls. Restrict the shoulder from cocking back and loading the elastic, and the speed collapses by around half. That is the test. It is not a story about bones. It is a measurable claim about where the power comes from. Switch off the elastic mechanism, and the human throwing advantage disappears on camera. The catapult in your shoulder is real, and you can turn it off with a strap. Now, before the bill, 1 more object, because it puts a face on all of this. In 1991, walkers in the Alps found a man in the ice, 5,300 years old. He was carrying his whole kit, and this is the only time we get that. A yew-bow, 1.82 m, unfinished. A quiver with 14 arrows, only 2 of them finished and ready to shoot. A copper axe, tinder fungus, birch tar still doing its job on his gear, 5,000 years after he mixed it. So this is a man in the middle of maintaining his equipment. 12 arrows to go. He clearly expected to have time. And then look at what actually happened to him. A flint arrowhead is lodged in his left shoulder from behind. It cut the artery under the collarbone. He was gone in minutes, on a mountain, before he finished the 12 arrows. Sit with the symmetry for a second. The whole story of this video is the shoulder, the arrow, and the distance. And the one ancient hunter we can actually look in the face was taken by exactly that combination, by somebody he never saw. So, what ended it? We did. Look at the order, continent by continent, and try to find another explanation. Australia. People arrive around 65,000 years ago at the earliest, and the dates are still argued over. Within the window that follows, essentially every land animal over about 45 kilograms is gone. A wombat the size of a car, a lizard 7 meters long, 23 of 24 large species. And in the Americas, we can watch the weapon itself spread because it left a signature. Around 13,000 years ago, one design turns up across North America, the Clovis point. long, leaf-shaped, and carrying a feature called a flute. A channel struck off the base so the point seats cleanly into a split shaft. Now look at what fluting costs. It is the last operation. You have already invested hours shaping the point, and then you strike the base and hope. Get the angle wrong and the whole thing snaps. Knappers who replicate these put the failure rate at that final blow somewhere around 1 in 5. Read that again. They accepted losing roughly 1 finish point in 5 at the last possible moment to get a better join with the shaft. That is the behavior of people who had worked out that the mount matters more than the edge. And the design shows up from Montana to Florida inside a few centuries. Same idea, same solution, across a continent, in a world with no writing. Then the Americas. People are firmly established by around 15,000 years ago. Between roughly 13 and 11,000 years ago, around 35 genera of large mammals vanish. Mammoth, mastodon, ground sloths 4 meters tall. The North American horse and camel, both native, both gone. Paul Martin put the argument in its sharpest form in the 1960s. A moving front of hunters, working through animals that had never learned what a human at 40 meters means. Now the honest correction, because this is genuinely contested. The climate was also moving. Ice sheets were retreating. Vegetation belts were shifting. Some of these species were under real pressure without us. But here is what the climate argument struggles with. These same animals had already come through multiple glacial cycles across the previous 500,000 years. They had survived warming before. What was new this time was a primate with a bow. And look at Africa, which is the control group nobody planned. Africa kept its megafauna. Elephants, rhinos, hippos, giraffes. The explanation on the table is simple. African animals grew up alongside hominins for 2 million years. They watched us slowly get better at this. They had time to learn fear. Everywhere we arrived suddenly, the large animals were gone within a geological instant. Everywhere we grew up, they are still standing. And the bill landed on you, in the joint. Your shoulder traded stability for that throwing motion. Here is what it costs now. The shoulder is the most frequently dislocated major joint in the human body. Rotator cuff problems reach something like 1 person in 5 over a lifetime. Past 60, the rate climbs beyond 30%. In the United States alone, on the order of 2 million people a year see a doctor about a rotator cuff. That is not bad luck. That is an invoice. You are carrying a joint that was rebuilt into a catapult, and a catapult runs hot and wears out. And there is a second cost, further up. You are the only animal on Earth fitted as standard with the ability to deliver force at a distance. Every conflict humans have ever had runs on that ability. Every improvement in it has been an improvement in reach. The bow becomes the sling, becomes the crossbow, becomes everything after. The physics of the first thrown stone is still the physics. So what if the weapon was never the object at all? What if we have been putting the wrong things in museum cases for 200 years? What if the deadliest thing our ancestors made was not the spear, the atlatl, the bow, or the poison? What if it was the idea underneath all 4? Do not be there. Be 40 meters away, be silent, be patient, and let physics finish it. Look at what that reframes. The Schöningen spears are not the invention. They are already the 4th or 5th draft of an idea that was old when they were carved. And the idea is not violence. The idea is distance. We traded a shoulder that could not fail for a shoulder that could throw, and most of us never even knew it was gone. So go back to your hands. Still no claws, still no fangs, still the worst natural weapons of any large predator that has ever lived, and it has never once mattered. The fight your body would lose is a fight your ancestors made certain never to have. Now I want to hear from you. Of the 4, which was the real turning point? The javelin at 300,000 years, the throwing shoulder at 2 million, the bow at 64,000, or the poison? Put the number in the comments. And tell me honestly whether you think Paul Martin was right, because I go back and forth on that one more than I would like to admit.